Part 3. Nostalgia.
I think if there's things that it could be developed, assisted living, to training centers, to other things that would meet your larger goals of creating jobs and creating gravitas and synergy, we would be. That's what we're working towards. Each element of that has not been entirely approved with my outline, but that would lay out the big brush strokes as I understand our arrangement.
So in this process, as we make this investment to get you onto Highway 17, at some point we would be able to gain that facility to use for economic development purposes as we, do feasibility studies or impact studies to see what might be appropriate for that site or that location. And at that point we would have nothing into it, so we would have a great opportunity to transition that into something that would benefit the entire community.
I might add too that we have proposed that the money for this come from the Mosaic Agreement, and there is a specific mention of the development of medical healthcare complexes in the Mosaic Agreement. So the intention of the money as it was negotiated several years ago certainly had an intention of being utilized for this purpose.
You wrote it.
So with all of that background, and I know that's a lot of important and exciting information, I'm sure there are probably some questions from the board members. So we will open it up for discussion amongst the board members, and any questions that you have, we'll go ahead and discuss those today so that we can see if we would like to make a decision to go forward.
Does that $2 million include what the city would need?
At least part of it.
Come on, at least part of it.
Have no idea that'll be all of it.
Well, surely Terry's got an idea of what it's going to cost.
Mr. Samuels, as far as the city is at this point, we've not been able or had the opportunity at this time to really get into any kind of engineering or design. So if this board were to decide to move forward with a project for a hospital relocation, then that would automatically pull the triggers that we need to start that process. So before you got too far into it, we would have a better understanding of what utility costs is. So there's other parts of this that you'll be discussing a little bit later that also comes into play in it to be able to access and have all infrastructure that would be needed to support this project. So right now I could not, other than give you a wild guess, assessment, right? Okay.
Any other questions or comments from board members?
Now, is this $2 million? Is that going to be all of it, or could we?
It should be sufficient. It should be sufficient. Excuse me, for the upcoming budget year. There are some other circumstances related to infrastructure. We really, it's another item on the agenda, but we really feel like there's a need to put a crossover on Hogan Street, which it actually enhances the incubator property too, because it gives us access from northbound and southbound US 17. The purchase of that property and the construction of a cut through there, of course, has to be computed, and that's an additional amount of money. But we also have an ability to go back to the EDA for some corridor grants, because this is in the corridor, and they probably would be supportive of helping us fund some of this.
Nationalizing Hardy County.
From the Mosaic appropriation will be more than adequate for this part of it. But then the next question becomes, how do we choose to deal with the existing building? Do we want to retrofit it ourselves and recruit someone, or do we want to put it on the market and allow someone that has a competency in assisted living facilities or nursing homes or some other unthought of approach, consider the feasibility of how to redevelop that property. That's an option that's available to us to gain some recapture. So this is not necessarily just a $2 million debt expense if you don't want to consider any aesthetic contribution to the development of our community. So, I mean, when I look at all of it together,
I'm
I
excited.
think we're going to be way ahead by making this contribution, and if it ends up needing some additional EDA money still, the improvement to the community and the opportunity to not lose a 38,000 square foot building that is in fairly good shape. I will tell you, there's asbestos in the building. We know it's got to come out. As part of, it's just an issue that has to be
Asbestos.
dealt with. It's not a dangerous type of asbestos. It's just that when we did the courthouse years ago, we tried to operate while we were rehabbing the courthouse, and it's impossible to do that. We ended up having to shift and move people around all over the place, and it was a mess. I'm very sympathetic with their plight relative to what to do with that building. It's a good building, but it would be virtually impossible to operate it as a hospital and retrofit and remodel it.
Hey, once the new one is built, who retains possession of the old one? Florida Hospital still, well, I'm getting to it.
They would deed that property over to the IDA.
For $1.
What are we going to do with it?
Well, we don't have to take it. We tear it down.
So, in other words, I can start doing heart surgeries there, I guess. I can do them in my barn. I mean, really, what are this board doing?
It doesn't excite you to have an opportunity to do something with that building? Would you rather walk away from it?
Yeah.
What's it going to cost you to keep it up? And
It may not cost us anything. We may be able to recruit someone that will come in and retrofit that building and provide something else.
Well, I thought he was talking about the DOCC taking it over. I didn't know it was his board that he was talking about taking it
You
over.
said to the county, I mean, we are somewhat synonymous, whether it's the Hardy County Industrial Development Authority or the county or whatever.
Well, and
For the Lexus leadership there.
the intent was to provide that building back for economic development purposes, for economic opportunity.
Oh my God.
Okay. I thought we had enough buildings now to start selling a deficit every year. Okay.
You're not in a deficit, by the way. I know you're paranoid about that, but you're not in a deficit.
It's costing us more money. Never mind.
That's your
We
problem.
marked in through that. All right.
So today, Madam Chair,
End of part 3.